So good afternoon, everyone, once again. My name is Oluseyi Olusoy. I am the convener of Come Let's Reason Together. And today we are looking at a very, very important topic where we look at marriage and revenue and how do we manage that within our homes, within our marriages between spouses. And today I want to welcome our guest speakers. And I want to believe that everyone that is on this platform will be contributing to this, sensitive but very, very important topic area in marriages. And any issue that includes money, finances, is something to talk about because we've seen a lot of homes that has been destroyed just because of this simple information that they never had. They never knew how to manage finances in their homes, and this has become issues. So with me today, I will be introducing our mother. She's known to everybody, but for the benefit of people that will be listening to us or listening to our messages on this platform, I may not have met her or know her. I'll be bringing her up online now, and that is our mother, Mother Celestia Remy. Is the wife of our resilient shepherd. Yes, and here she comes. So I'll be bringing her up so that everybody can see her. So yes, good afternoon, ma. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon. And thank you for joining us. I know it's a very busy weekend because I know Easter period is one of those periods that churches will have to prepare for the Sunday service,
Yes.
which is the resurrection service. So for you to have actually, give us this time, we are not taking it for granted. Come
Thank
Let's
you, ma.
Reason is not taking it for granted. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you,
So
ma.
if you just like to introduce yourself to some of our participants that may not have met you, or probably they've been hearing your name, but they don't know who you are. And for the purpose of people that were watching this, this program, following this, the end of this program, could you please introduce yourself? And not only just that short introduction, I am, this is it. Give us a bit more about your background so people know that we have brought people that really know about finance on this platform. Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much, ma. As you said, my name is Remy Iyun. I am the wife of Shepherd Iyun of CCC House of Grace Parish. I am a finance individual, so I'm a qualified accountant, has been for over 25 years. And I also have two children. I'll talk a bit more about my experience in a minute, but I have two children, a boy and a girl, both in college, looking forward to university soon. And from a experience point of view, I have been in finance for 20 plus years. I've worked in facilities management companies more recently, and for the last 20 years, I've been with a company called CBRE, which is a company that basically maintains buildings for large customers. And I manage over 140 million pounds worth of revenue in my business. So yeah, lots of experience working in multiple areas, managing accounts. But also I make sure that my home is doing well as well from a finance point of view, so that our pluses and minuses add up. And over the years, I have done a few talks on financial infidelity. I know we're not going to go too much into that one today, but I can absolutely add a little bit to the talk today, which is around building a healthy finance or relationship in marriage, or as a single person that is trying to get together with someone. I hope that's enough, ma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that short but large introduction. It could be short, but it takes there are lots of things that have been spoken in that little brief information shared with us. Thank you so much, and welcome once again to Come Let's Reason Together. where we are going to be discussing today, from romance to revenue. So how do they manage? So Pastor Franklin will be coming in soon. Will be joining us soon. But he has given his word for us to start because we can't be waiting for him. So he will join us as we go. As I believe a lot of people know Pastor Franklin by now. It's because he's a friend of Come Let's Reason Together and he works with us very, very well. Step in at any point in time where he needs. And I've got other um mummies and daddies that are, I'm sure they too have their experience when it comes to finance. They must have managed their finances too, in their homes. So we are saying today, this Come Let's Reason Together is about learning from experience. So we
Yes.
are not saying we know it all, but one way or the other, you must have learned one or two things, whether good, whether bad. Because sometimes when we learn things in a bad way, it gives us that insight as to, okay, this is what I learned when I was doing this. Now I know better. This is how best for me. Let me share it with people so that they will understand and they will not go through the line that I went through. And then it becomes people learning from your own personal experience. And that's what we do on this platform. So to just start today's discussion, ma, could you just explain to us briefly what your understanding is about romance to revenue? Because some people will be asking, what does this woman mean, romance to revenue? How does it tally,
Yes. I think from my own understanding, love is romance. When we think about romance, we think about two people falling in love and wanting to be together, wanting to build a life together, and which generally ends up in marriage, children, family, and all the things that goes with it. The revenue part is the money aspects of that relationship, because ultimately every relationship needs money, right? They're going to be paying for bills, they're going to buy houses, they're going to buy cars, they're going to pay for their school, their kids' education, they're going to pay for their home, all the necessities that we have. But I suppose sometimes it can also go to some of the investments that families would decide to have once they are settled and they've got extra to go. So it's basically the relationship between the love aspects and the money management aspects of a relationship.
Thank you so much. You've actually said it so clear. So we are talking about the love aspect to align with the financial management aspect
Yeah,
as well. So you believe that if these two doesn't work in correlation with each other, there could be in problems in any way, in any forms.
absolutely. I mean, I don't have the statistics with me, but when you look at it, there's lots of relationships that break down because there is not enough money in the
Mm,
home. We hear of families that, either the wife or the husband decides that they can't stay anymore because the suffering is too much and they
mm,
haven't got a way out. So they find something, a better solution. Um, there is lots of examples of even close ones that we've had that you've seen. So it's very important they work together. It's not about having, sometimes when we say being comfortable, it's not always about having £1 million in the account or having too much money that you don't know what to do with.
mm.
Sometimes and we have to look at the biblical principles with it as well. It's about you just want to have enough. I always say to people, I don't need to be a millionaire to be the happiest person in the world. I just
Mhm.
want to know that nobody's knocking on my door asking for rent, or nobody's knocking on my door asking for, my kids are looking for food, they have no food to eat. So it's very important they work together.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So let's start today's discussion in full. And I've got a few questions that I've actually explored myself and say,
Okay.
look, this is where we are going to go today. And this is how I believe it will open more doors for this discussion to go the best way. So how do you think a normal typical couple should approach their financial discussions? Let's say at the beginning of their relationship. How
Yes.
do you think they should approach it?
I'm going to use myself as a case example in some of the examples that I give. But as a young couple, when you are to the point where you've got to, okay, I think we're going to get married, or we
Mm-hmm.
want to get engaged, or we want to start meeting each other's parents, it's very important that you understand, especially in this country, where the
Mm.
country where we have credit checks, we have credit ratings, we have all these things that allows us to be able to build wealth. Those are the things that you need if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car. So your credit rating is very important. So as a beginning, the first thing that couples should talk about is talk about their both what they're like. You know, what is their do's and don'ts. What is your current credit rating?
Mm.
Have you got a lot of debt that you're going to be bringing into our marriage? Or do you have a lot of cash that you're bringing into our marriage? Or do you have any equity that you're bringing into our marriage? All those things should be things that they are talking about, especially when they're engaged. I won't suggest that you start talking to the boy that you met yesterday and you're still courting in church. I'm talking about the ones that this is now going to be a marriage. This is where we're already planning our marriage. It's been sanctioned by the priest or the shepherd or the church, and your families know about it. Those are the people that I'm saying they should be sitting down and having this discussion. I mean, some of these things matter as well. If we are getting to know each other properly, you will start to see the kind of spending pattern your partner or the person you're going to marry has.
Mm.
Because if you're in a relationship and the person, even at that time when you're still dating or courting or whatever it is that we're doing, and they're very wasteful in their spending, they're not going to change just because you marry them. They're
Mm.
probably going to carry on that effect. But if you are with someone that is already telling you, I know you're earning a lot of money, but what are you doing? Are you saving? Are you looking at how you can invest the money? It's not even about them. They're just worried about you doing something, or the vice, and it can be the other way. It can be a man telling that to a woman. It can be a woman telling that to a man. Then you start to see that partner that actually already is the kind of person that will help you build your wealth and help you build your home.
Mm. Um, Let me quickly ask you this question before we go deeper into the all the questions that I have here.
Mm.
What is the difference between being rich and being wealthy?
You can almost say, well, to be fair, being rich and wealthy is um it's almost the same. But rich is about money. It's about the cash you have in your bank balances.
Mm.
Um, there's a saying that says that we are all 2 months from being poor. You know, if you don't have enough money, if you lost your job today and you can't pay your rent tomorrow, you're not really worthy or rich. You're just basically going along because you don't have the money there that that will be able to cover you in your times of need. Now, when you're worthy, it's not just about money. It can also involve, or when you're, it's not about, it's not just being rich. You can have assets. You can have things that generate money for you. When you're worthy, it's very hard for a worthy person that's got, and some of those wealth as well. It might be that it came from your family, so it might
Mm-hmm.
be generated through family, it might be
Mm-hmm.
generated uh, through marriage. It can be generated in different ways. They are very similar, worthy and rich, because someone that is rich, you could term them as being worthy. But you could have someone that's worthy and has a lot of material things, but cannot generate cash with it.
Mm.
So that's my own kind of that's how we differentiate it because they're very similar words.
So, just for the benefit and the purpose of people that are listening, would you say um, working for people like people that are doing 9 to 5 jobs and people that are actually building wealth for themselves, becoming a self-employed,
Mhm.
employing people,
Yes,
makes the difference between somebody that is rich. Because obviously, when you're
yes,
earning 9 to 5, you've been earning money. So you're rich because you can meet up some of your
yes.
expenses, right? But then, as
You're
soon
not
as that
worthy.
money finishes, that's it.
Yes,
But then when you start, you know, having your own personal, thing doing, like, becoming a self-employed person, employing people, that makes it like you're becoming wealthy. Is that
yes.
is that what we're saying here?
Yeah, being worthy is having assets. It's having things that can generate cash for you if you need it. in the long run, because you have a backup almost. When as you said, you can be wealthy if you're working 9 to 5, if you deal with your money properly and you use your money to invest in things that will generate cash for you, you can become wealthy. Absolutely. But when you look at some of the worthy people in the UK, are people that they're not working for people. They're people that are working for themselves.
Sure.
They found an idea, or they found a business or whatever, and they've been able to kind of put that into fruition, turn it into a company, and be able to start their own business. Because when you start your own business, there's a way that you'll be able to invest more into the business. You'll be able to pull out more profits out of the business as well. And you're not limited to a 9 to 5. So it means that you've got the flexibility as well when it comes to your home life, when you have your own business.
Sure. Thank you so much for that clarification, because I'm just putting that question through so that people will understand what we are trying to achieve here. Because I know for a fact that a lot of homes, one of the problems that actually, scattered the home is about finance. Now, you've mentioned something about, couples need to speak to each other about whatever luggage they are bringing in terms of finance.
Yes, very important.
Not only luggage around other things, but luggage around finance.
Yes.
What debt do you have with you?
Yes.
What is your credit score? And you said it is when they believe that now they are really getting into the nitty-gritty of becoming husband and wife. So, assuming now they are now husband and wife, they've mentioned this to themselves. Let's quickly talk about joint account and separate account. I know you mentioned that when you were talking about infidelity in finance, because I've been fortunate to listen to you. Now, how best way do they match this together?
Okay.
In their finances?
Absolutely. I mean, homes are different. Every home's different, and I have experiences from even my own sister's marriages. Some homes will say the husband will look after the bills, the wife will look after food and children. And this is in the UK. Someone will say we would do half and half, which would require a joint account, because what that means is they calculate all their bills, whatever it is they're going to spend, and they say, okay, it's going to cost, I don't know, 3,000 a month. So I will put down 1,500, you will put down 1,500. And they put in a joint account, the bills come from there, and then the rest of the money is for them to deal with as they like. Someone will say, let's have one account. Let's put all the money into the account, and we talk to each other about, okay, we know we allocate money to ourselves. Okay, you are going to spend, I don't know, 500 each for yourselves. The rest is for bill, savings, and the children. So there's different ways, and there's no one that is wrong, because the most thing I would say.
My name is Oluseyi Olusoya. I am the convener of Come Let's Reason Together, and today we are looking at a very, very.
You hear that, ma?
Yeah, I've muted it. I think
ma.
It's Go on. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. The only thing I was going to say is that the most important part of whatever you decide to do at the beginning is the trust. Both of you must trust each other that you're being honest with each other. If you've decided to say, okay, we have a bill and how we're going to manage, and that bill would include kids' school, all the clothes that they want to buy, it will include everything. And if what you've decided to do is to do it's going to cost us X amount, we'll do half and half. Just make sure that you are not then, sneaking things in that is not meant to be in there. Make sure that everybody is aware of what those things are for, and that both of you are contributing to it. If you are decided to put your money into the account, again, honesty and trust is important, because you can imagine one person might earn more than the other person. So if the other person is earning more, and then the one that is not earning more is wasting the money, that will cause problem. Yeah. So honesty, even if there's nothing wrong in, actually, I want to spend more this month, but that needs to be a discussion between both parties to say, look, I have this thing, this project or whatever, we all know, it might be people from back home that have asked us for something. We want to do it. It's not part of our budget. But talk to your partner and make sure that they're aware that you are taking the money out of the account. And those work as well. And then for the other ones that I said, that they will say, I am looking after the house, everything in the house from bills, and all you have to do is buy food in the house. Again, it's about communication. All of these things, if we communicate, they work. And if we are honest about who's having what, and nobody's playing tricks, then it doesn't cause problem. But when we have tricks or tricksters, or we have dishonesty within those, that's when you find that the problems start. Because if you're meant to contribute half this month, you don't contribute it, and I'm having to cover it every month. That means you have taken something that should have been mine, that we agreed in the first place. You've taken it away from me. So now I'm suffering. So obviously, I will start to have malice to my partner. That's why are they making my life harder? So wow. Yes.
So let's look at this area that we are discussing now. We are talking about couples being honest with each other, being open with each other.
Yes.
So does that include actually showing each other our pay slips?
Absolutely.
Knowing how much is actually coming in from yourself and from myself. Because I've seen a situation whereby, and I'm not being gender biased there. I want to believe that people understand wherever I'm saying here is because I have experienced it, or I've seen people that have experienced it, and that's why I'm coming here to discuss it. Where women will open up with their pay slips that this is how much I am earning, but it's not coming, from the other partner. Sometimes it could not be vice versa.
Yes.
So how do we now manage these two? If this kind of thing is, and we both agree that, yes, we need to do this together, we need to match this together, we need to do this, but I am skeptical of showing you my pay slips or even telling you that this is the amount that I earn. Do you think that will work in a marriage when it comes to finances?
It doesn't make it easy, and it actually doesn't allow the finances to work the way it should work. My husband knows how much I earn. I know how much my husband earns. That doesn't stop me from saying I want to spend this out of my money, because I'm being honest with him that this is what I'm going to spend on myself. It doesn't stop him from using whatever he has that he wants to spend on whatever he likes on himself, because both of us are honest and we know how much we have in the house. So I always think it's very important. I mean, the minute you agree something and the other person is not doing it, it will definitely cause problems. Which is why when you look at the statistics around people that divorce for finance, it's because one person is hiding what they are earning from them. They're not letting them know that this is what they're earning. I hear story. I think I heard a story a while ago of a woman that went to Nigeria with her, and not to do sexist or anything, but she went to Nigeria with her husband, and they rented an apartment. Lo and behold, the woman was the owner of the apartment, but the man did not know.
Yeah,
and he was paying her rent for a house that she owned in Nigeria, and when he found out, it was just like, wow, it's over. So if we're not careful, we might think that we're doing it because we're trying to protect, because we all know, we've heard the stories of, generally, maybe the man is the more that is more buoyant in a relationship, and they end up finding, when they're older in life, they find a younger one of a version, and then they leave the woman with the kids, no money, no whatever. So some of us have got to the stage that we go, we need to be smarter. There's nothing wrong in that. But be open. Let them know that you've bought yourself a flat. We know as women, and I'm not trying to sterilize men, but we women, we know that when we get £100 to go and buy something, and it costs £100, we will look for a way to spend 80 and still get everything that we are going to get. And we know how to save 20. So generally, as a woman, the way God has built us, he has built us to be able to save. And those 20 pounds, I'm just paraphrasing with very small numbers. It can be big, large numbers in some cases. But those 20 pounds are things that you will see us, will say, I want to buy investment, we want to buy this. As long as you're being open that you are going to do that, there's nothing that there will be no reason for the person to feel like there's a distrust or anything like that. I hope that answers your question, ma.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I don't know. I think, Apostle, are you talking about my volume or Mother Celestine's volume?
No, I just want her to increase the tempo of that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mommy. Now, let me ask you something. We have been talking about honesty, we have been talking about trust, we have been talking about communication. That means that, in every areas of marriage or every areas of complications of marriage, there are key things that is sequential to everything. Communication, trust, honesty. So in this case, I'm going to ask you, how often do you think couples should review their finances? I'm working now. I told my husband I'm earning £2,000 per month after tax. Then I got another job of the same role.
Yes.
The roles have not changed, the
Yes.
same role. But because they don't understand the way I work, I'm a nurse by profession. So it's possible that my banding has increased.
Yes.
And when my banding increased, my salary will increase. He doesn't know that unless I discuss this with him.
Yes, yes.
So I could say now I've got another job. I'm still being paid 2,000, whereas my salary take home now after tax is now like £4,000.
Yep.
So this needs to be reviewed, isn't it? So how often should we review our finances? Must we wait till when we get another job, or is it something that we have to review as our expenses grow? Because sometimes expenses grow. Maybe at the time you had your discussion, you had your plan and everything, you had only one child.
Yes.
These are the position of the husband, these were the position of the wife. But as time goes on, another child came in, now your family is becoming enlarged. Maybe the position of things have not changed. You're still doing your normal job. So
yes,
how often should we review this?
There are different times, Ma. There's different times when we should review them. And you've mentioned some of them. Whenever we all get pay increases every year, apart from changing job, everyone's pay go up, whether it's 2, 3, 4%, whatever it is, it's going up every year. We know that also cost of living goes up. So we should review it, and that's a trigger point. We should also review it when we have a change in circumstances to our cost. So let's say, you had one car, you now decide you want to buy 2 cars, or and you're putting them both on finance. Then you should again review it and go, right, how are we going to split the cost? But one thing I would also say that is very, very important, apart from reviewing just because of additional money, also review your cost, because you will know that, especially with the bills, with things that are variable that we have on some of them will go up every year as well. So you will get your electricity bill go up. I mean, we've just had the news of all the war that's going up in Europe, Far East, and we know that is having impact on our gas, our electricity. So as couples, even now, we should be sitting down, because some bills have increased already. We should be sitting down and going, right, the bills have increased, so we're going to need it. If you're not one that has all your money in their account together, or whether you are the split one, you should be going, let's sit down and look at how much extra we now need. This is important as well, because you can get into a safe haven that you think we have enough if you're not reviewing what is coming in versus what is going out. Because again, that is where problems will start, because you think you're all right when you first started, the money was enough, everything was getting paid. But because you think, okay, a little bit has been added this month, okay, this one's been added next year, before you know it, if you're not careful and actually reviewing both money coming in and money coming out, you can find yourself in a situation where it's not enough. And then you are looking for money to borrow. Then you start going to credit card, you start going to loan, you start going to all these debts. And we all know they're very nice to take. When we take them, it's lovely. It's when they say, repay. That's when that's when the struggle starts, because you still are not earning anymore. You're still on the same money you've got, but you have to now repay something at a lump sum every month. And so it puts stress on the family. So there's different times we should, anytime we have anything that is changing our finance or how we work, we should always check it.
Someone is asking, and I think I should quickly ask this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I ask my own question, Prophet SBC is asking a question. She's saying, what is it when there are discrepancies on the statement of, I believe it's statement of account?
Yeah.
Could that be something that is, how can a statement, how can it be altered?
How can a statement, I mean, a statement can't be altered if you get it, assuming that both copies they've got access to the account, which is very important, because I teach about that in financial infidelity. You shouldn't have, it's trades of someone hiding something from you. If you have a joint account, both of you should have access to it. You should be able to log into it anytime. You should be able to look at the statements. And if you're finding things on your accounts that doesn't make sense, both of you have not discussed about, then you need to have a serious discussion with your partner to understand what they are, because ultimately you should both know what is coming out of those accounts.
Wow, I believe that has answered your question, ma.
I'm trying to be diplomatic, but you're asking me questions that I can't be diplomatic about.
Okay, let's go. I mean, I still have a lot of questions here, so I'm just trying to see how to ask you so that I can be sequential.
Yeah.
And we have looked at, openness in whatever we are doing, but we still find that a lot of couples are struggling with that. Now, let me bring it back to this generation that we have. We have the generation of the Gen Zs. Why do you think it's difficult for some of them to do exactly what we are preaching now?
I don't want to go back to trust, but there's a bit of me that thinks that, we as parents, our children watch us. They look at how we have managed our marriages. They look at how we have managed our finances. They look at some of the things that we quibble about our home. And I think some of those things do get taken into those Gen Z's way of thinking as well. Because the Gen Z that's seen their dad or their mom be the one that is £10, that's all you can spend, even though the woman is working hard, will be going, look, when I get married, my money is my money. I'm not sharing it with anybody. Because they've seen that actually it doesn't work, or it's not worked. And so that those kind of things can be taken into their relationship. But also, when we look at our youths these days, some of them might be worried about how much they're earning. They might be worried that, look, if I tell that person what I'm earning, they might take advantage of me. They might be looking at, okay, maybe they were brought up in a family where the mom is said, look, whatever I looked at, we all know African parents, right?
Absolutely.
I'm the one that, looked after you. I'm the one that paid for your bills. Forget the 10% for God. I want 25% of your salary, because all the money I've spent on you over the years. And we parents, sometimes we can be so demanding on our children. We don't want to know whether they have bills. We don't want to know. So all of those things can have impact on how Gen Zs, they decide that they want to manage their own finances. But ultimately, the most important part of it is for them to try and put some guardrails. I always say, anyone that is in marriages, yes, you may have guardrails. Guardrails are different. You can have them in different aspects. But from a finance point of view, they have to be able to say, look, there's certain things that we will not do. So if I'm sending, and a guardrail, for example, could be, if I'm sending money back home, or if any of us are sending more money back home, we have to tell each other. That could be a guardrail. If you have that as a principle or rule that both of you have agreed to, like, before I send money back home, I must tell her, even if it's my money that I'm sending, I'm not touching her money, but I'm just making sure that I'm sending, because that's what we agreed to do. So there's a need for that.
So should those principles comes when they are about to tie the nuptial whatever, or yes, will it come when they are now fully married couples? Is it
In
something that they
the,
need to look in before or during or after?
in those in those I'm just seeing the notes part. In those discussions should be happening as they're thinking about. So when they're talking about the kind of spenders that they are, and they're talking about how they want the baggage that they're bringing, or this zero or no baggage that is being brought along, or the assets, because some of our Gen Z would have bought houses when they're single. So when they are coming into marriage, they've already got their property. So whatever it is, they should also be putting those guardrails in. So as we're putting guardrails in for everything else, some guardrails in marriages could be when we have a fight, we're not going to tell our parents. None of us will go to our parents. We'll keep it in the family and resolve it. That's a guardrail. And it's one that sometimes we forget. It's because our families say, no, God, tell us your problems. So if you're in a relationship or in a marriage, you should be able to talk to each other. That's what it's all about. Nobody is an expert in marriage. Even when you speak to people that have been married 60 for 60 years, 70 years, they'll tell you, I'm still getting to know the woman because, or I'm still getting to know the man. So those guardrails, we should definitely be setting them at the point where we're getting married. But as our relationship also grows, there should be a review of the guardrails, because there's things that you might have said when you were about to get married that's not relevant anymore. So you must review it and go, okay, what other new ones do we need to put in?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that is why this review of a thing is very, very important at every single time. So I think it's something that's supposed to be an ongoing thing that you need to be doing. And in doing that, do you think that will make them to avoid conflicts over finances within their home?
Yes. I think as long as you're honest in your home and you and both of you are open to speaking about the things around money, then it reduces the conflict. Most homes don't break up because they don't have enough. They break up because someone is not saying what is actually going on in that in within the money. It's not because there is most marriages will survive even if they have so far they can pay their bills, they can have food on the table. Most marriages can still survive for a long time because every situation is not permanent. And I look back into our own my own marriage. There were times when we didn't have enough, but we were able to pay bills, but we didn't have enough to be able to say, we want to just splash out today or splash out tomorrow. I remember the times when my budget for shopping was £20. I knew I had £20 that I could spend. So I will go to Asda and I will say, right, that is my weekly budget. And I will pick the things that I can buy and I bring it home. Now I don't even think about what I'm buying, which is actually, sometimes you look at what you buy and you go, do I actually need that? But because you have a little bit more, you go, you just buy like you like. But I have been in those situations as well where I knew that this is all that we have and I must be able to, within my £20 and what I have in my fridge, feed the family for the week. So I buy the necessity. So we have those situations that will change as we go along.
Thank you so much, Mother Celesta.
Sorry, Ma, I would ask you before you ask another question, there's a question that someone said, I just wonder whether we should touch it quickly. It's the one around the prenuptial agreement.
Okay, yeah.
And I just want to touch that. And the reason I'll touch that is because, as we know, when you get married, and we are in a country where the law says that, if you get married and you build wealth whilst you're married, it belongs to both of you.
Exactly.
This is the reason why most of Gen Zs are doing this prenuptial agreement. Because you can imagine if you are somebody that is entrepreneurship, you've got a company, you've got millions in the account. This man decides to leave, or the woman decides to leave, and you have to give the person half of what you built. They did not work for it. They did not do anything to help you. In fact, they were the ones that were abusing you when you were doing the long hours. They were telling you you're not a good mother or a good father or whatever. And so this is the reason why, and because we see it as well, it's not biblical. God doesn't say that this is what we should do in our marriages, but because the Gen Zs find it hard to trust that the person that they're with is really is really there for life. So what they're thinking is, look, let me put this agreement in place. Okay, I have to give them, I don't know, 10%. It's better than 50%. So they're safeguarding themselves. That is the reason for it. It's not something that we should encourage as Christians and children of God, because God wants us to live together forever.
And, having said that, I was going to ask a question around that. So I was going to incorporate that question into it. And the question is this. We've mentioned some certain things which are key factors in managing finances within homes, which is the trust, which is the communication,
yes,
which is the honesty. And now, bringing this prenumertal something into this thing now, I have seen a lot of couples, we can say old couples,
yes,
but we learn from experience. That's what we are. That's why we are here.
That's right.
We learn from experience. At times, the way God does his own thing is different from the way men we want it done. It can please God to bless the woman more than the man.
Yes.
And it can please man to bless the man more than the woman. And then in some situation where the women are blessed, just like what you've just said, I have seen somebody that the woman was really wealthy. She's got businesses. She's got homes in Nigeria. We're not talking of one or two. She's got homes there. And then the man was a bit laid back. Those men, there are some men that kind of lay back and, lie at the back of their wives. So when there were, then trouble came in and within the law of this country, they were, the law actually said they need to share everything that this woman had worked for, including the one that she inherited. The woman almost run mad. She hasn't come out of it right now as we speak.
I'm not surprised.
So how do we now manage, when Gen Zs here's all this kind of news. What are they supposed to be doing? Are they supposed to be saying, okay, because I put my trust in God? Of course, we put our trust in God.
Yes.
I will trust him in everything that I do because I know he will be there for me. Or are they supposed to put some strategic plans in place to kind of lay back on if this happens in future?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is something that can happen to any of us, whether you're a man or a woman, or I suppose I want to go back to the beginning. It's very important that we marry our bone of our bone, because all of this starts from marrying the right person. When we marry the wrong person, or we marry just on the basis of looks or financial stability or whatever it is, then you probably end up marrying someone that will eventually, the looks will go. We all know, we all get old, we all get a bit more chubbier.
Tell me
all the things that happen.
You can say that again.
So that is I mean, there are things that we can do. We can, there is, I'll be too diplomatic if I said that as individuals, we should not safeguard ourselves. And that might mean that, for instance, like this woman that lost everything, had her parents, when they gave her what they gave her, had put it into a trust and said that even if she married whoever, the person would not have access to it. That would have protected that element of her wealth.
Thank you.
Which most parents can do. So as a parent, it's a bit late for us now because our parents didn't do it. But as a parent, we can put our inheritance for our children into trust. And we can set the trust rules that say that anything that comes out of that trust cannot be passed on to anybody else. So that you safeguard that. Obviously, we've spoken about prenuptial as well, which is something that is available. But there's some men that will say, you want to prenuptial. Even some women, they'll say, no, I'm not marrying you. Why will you do that? So you don't trust me. Probably those ones are the ones that we should be worried about. The people that say you don't trust me. Because most people that don't have anything to gain, they will sign it. They will say, I don't really care about your money. So they'll be like, I'll sign it. because frankly, I'm not marrying you because of what you have. I'm marrying you because I love you. So and those are the things that maybe we might want to look at. And that's why, there are options. Ultimately, marry the right person, safeguard your children's future for their inheritance, and for yourself, if that is your option, safeguard yourself by putting in some agreement that allows you to at least limit your damage.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I am actually not going as sequential as I have put this, but I am actually putting this question to you as the discussion is coming up. But let's look at the fact that couples prioritizing I know we've spoken about it, but how do we prioritize expenses and savings as a couple? Because that's an important part of the whole thing.
Yes.
What are we supposed to be doing? What are we supposed to do next? Because at times the husband might say, oh, I think the next thing for us to do now is to get a car. And the wife might be saying, no, we don't need the car now. I think this is what we need now.
Yes.
So, and for them to avoid conflict in their decision making. So how would you advise that we prioritize, couples prioritize their expenses and savings?
Yes. I mean, those that have done like how you manage your finances, generally, when you earn your 100% finance, we all know that we have to, first of all, take away our tithes from it and give that to God, for those of us that are Christians. And then the rest of it, we know that at least 60, 70%, even sometimes maybe even 80% is going to go towards our bill, because we know how this country is.
Yeah.
And then you're left with maybe 10 or 15%. And that is where you have this thing that I love so much, where you pay yourself. You have to pay yourself some money, because you have to look after yourself. You're the one that did the work. So you need to be able to spend something on yourself, that whether it's, having a nice hair or a spa or buying yourself some clothes or whatever it is that you like doing. And then the rest is what we put into savings. That is obviously important that we do that, because if we don't do that, we don't have enough savings in the first place. If we don't allocate our money so that there's some portion left over, then there's nothing to invest in. In terms of investment, as a couple, we should always look at what our need is. We all know we have a lot of wants. There's a lot of wants that we have. We want a new car, we want a new house. People always say to me, why don't you buy a bigger house? I say, I don't need it. The house that I'm living is okay. We are happy. We have enough room for. We don't have. You're not looking to invite people to come and stay with us. My children have their bedrooms. So what else do we need? That's what me and my husband, we say all the time. If anything, we're going, when they grow up, we want to downsize, because we don't need a house anymore. We just need a small, either a flat or a bungalow. We don't need that. So, but sometimes we look around us, we see our friends with 7-bedroom house, and we want a house. Prioritizing what you spend your investment on should always be based on what you need in the future, because it's not necessarily a need for now. Also, it should also be around, can this thing generate cash for us? Whilst it's nice to drive a nice car, and believe me, I've been a victim of that as well for many, many years, changing cars every 3 years. But I realized that all I'm doing is just throwing away my money. It would have been better for me to buy a new car and keep it for 10 years, because at least then I know that I've actually used my money, rather than changing every 3 years. Because those things do not generate cash. All you do is you spend the money and the money is gone. So another thing that I can advise couples is, when you want to invest, is look at this investment that we are doing. Is it going to generate cash, or is it going to allow us to generate cash in the future? So when you buy a house, houses increases the cost, the price of the house goes up. So without even doing anything, it's generating cash.
Yeah.
When you look at things like stocks, bonds, obviously you have to be safe when you're doing those things, because you can also lose money as well. But if you're looking at something that is more long term, again, those will become more expensive. I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday. I said, my colleagues at work said they buy expensive watches. Do we know that if we buy those watches that cost £20,000, £40,000, those Rolexes, if you keep them for 5 years, they double in price?
Wow.
Because they become antiques. Not a lot of us know that. Whilst we might buy 20 DKNY watch, 1,000 each. If you save that money and buy yourself a Rolex, you are buying yourself an investment for the future.
Mm.
So it's when those couples are sat together, they have to first of all go, let's forget about what we want. Let's put need into it. And then they have to go, what is going to generate cash for us? Because anything that you buy that will reduce the value of the cash that you put into it is your want.
Mm.
So it's always, they should be always thinking about that. And then from a husband and a wife, sometimes you have someone that is their own priorities here, and the other one says, no, is that one. Unfortunately, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but to compromise. My advice would be, let's compromise. Okay, yours is more important, it's going to generate cash, but mine is also important, I will generate cash. Okay, we will invest on that one first, but the next one will be my own idea.
Mm.
Because then you are reaching an agreement and everybody is getting what they want. Just it's a matter of time.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. I think that will go into some women that says, oh, I want to invest all my money on buying gold. And some men doesn't see, they see it as, oh, why are you buying gold? You're just buying it for fashion purposes. But you and I know that in the next, even the way gold is now,
yes,
in the next 1 year, that gold will be at least half of what you've bought it, more than half of what you've bought
double, ma.
Exactly.
Gold is an investment that even when you need the cash, the gold is there, and gold never reduces in value. It might not grow as fast as it's currently growing, but it will not reduce. You will not lose money from buying.
Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging all of us to go start buying gold, but if you generally buy it, you know that at least your money is not being wasted.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that response. So let's go to the next question. Let's go to the budgeting part of finance. How can couples leverage using financial tools to support their home?
Yeah, I think I briefly mentioned about that in terms of being able to monitor what you're having in and what you're going in. I mean, our most easiest one is Excel. We all have Microsoft in our homes, on our computer. So all you have to do is make sure that you list everything that you are going to spend, everything from the small shopping that you spend to all the clothes, the food, the bills, everything. You can list those, and then you put in how much you are earning, both of you are earning. And then on the back of that, it will give you what is left. And it's by using those kind of tools, you can then see that, okay, we have X amount left, which means we can invest, or we can save, or we can splash out. Because it's very important as well, once we talk about money, it's the money that allows us to have well-being. Because as individuals, we cannot just be working and earning money and going to work and paying for bills and doing this. We have to make sure that we are also using that money to have some well-being moments. What I'm talking about is holidays. When you are, I don't know whether most people, when you are doing your expenses, put holiday in there as well, so that you know that we're saving up for a holiday, so £100 is going towards the holiday we're going to book for the family at the end of the year, because it's very, very important for us to be able to do that. But apart from Excel, you also have a lot of banks. They have a lot of budgeting tools that you can just use, very similar to the Excel, where it will allow you to put your salary or your net salary in, and then you can list all your expenses, and it will tell you what you've got left. And then you'll be able to kind of look at the things that you don't need, that you are currently wasting money on because maybe you had abundance, to what you actually need, and you can streamline through those processes as well.
Thank you so much. So I think the easiest way to actually use apps is your Excel, because I think with Excel, it will give you exactly whatever is going in and whatever is coming out. Now let's go into, while we are here now, let's go into the area of whereby they've done their spreadsheets, and they can see that the amount of debt they have is more than the income that is coming in. How can they tackle it in their homes without it becoming a bigger issue that can actually bring problems between the husband and wife?
Exactly. I mean, I will. So there are different things as we talked about loans. We talked about credit cards. Credit cards are not really ideal for managing your debt, but you might find yourself in a situation where actually part of your money that you're paying on that spreadsheet is paying for a credit card that you have spent, or maybe you've bought something of a catalog or something. Now the interest is high on those items. It might be easier to go and get yourself a loan that is fixed, that you know you will pay off within a certain amount of time, and use it to consolidate some of those debts.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you might, and even I have done this in the past where I've looked at what I'm paying, the outgoing, and you look at it and you go, well, even if I keep paying this thing for 20 years, I will not finish it. So why don't I get a loan, pay it off? I know that 2 years my loan will finish, or 3 years or 5 years. Those loans can go, I think, up to 6 years. They do up to 60 months. So you can, depending on whatever it is that you want. But it's very important that if we are to do that, we don't then, go back to the same credit card, spend it again, because then you're now in double trouble, if I want to call it that. But there are things that you can do. You can look at that. The other things that we can also do is look at as I said earlier on, there's some things that you might, when you have a lot of abundance. Okay, for example, we have flexed our Sky subscription in times when we had abundance to where we didn't have abundance. You have Sky movies, you have this one, you have that one, you have all these things. But when you're looking at your outgoing and you're going, actually, I need to save another £200. Okay, fine, we need Sky, but we don't need Sky movies. We're not going to die if we don't watch movies for the next 2-3 months, especially now that there's YouTube. Even most families might say, we don't even need Sky. Some families don't even have Sky anymore now. They just have the YouTubes, because Netflix. a lot of our TVs are smart TVs. So we can go on internet on them. We can actually watch free movies, free this, free that. So sometimes it's about looking at all those things. Also, when it comes to home bills and things like that, we have to shop around for prices, because even as a time where gas and electric is expensive, if you've got to the point where your contract is about to end, or even if it's not ending, some companies will take up your contract midway, but you'll be able to make some savings. So there are all those things that we can do that will allow us to kind of reduce the amount of outgoing to the point where it's now achievable, and we'll be able to at least start, having peace of mind, rather than, being afraid of not being able to pay something. The bank also offer overdrafts. Overdraft is there for short term. I wouldn't advise it for people to be using it for long term, because again, the interest is a lot. So the only one that you're sure of what you will pay back is a loan, because they will tell you this is how much you will pay back, and that is it. It's fixed. All the other stuff are variable and they cost a lot.
Thank you so much, Ma, for this exposition. God bless you. So now let me put you on a spot, and I just want to use this. Is that we're learning from experience.
Yes.
So tell us, what is the biggest financial challenge you have faced as a couple, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge for us was a time when our expenses grew more than our income, and it kind of happened gently. We didn't see it coming. We were signing up to a lot of things, like we were signing up to subscriptions, using overdrafts, not even overdraft, using a direct debit, and not actually understanding that direct debit is lovely, but if you put everything on direct debit without actually calculating that you have enough there, by the time they try and pull it out and there's no money there, you're now in trouble. I mean, we had a time that we used to borrow money from people, like, borrow us £200 so that we can fix this. When we get paid, we'll give it back. But then you find out that the next month it's still not enough. What we had to do was, like I said, some of the things that I'm saying, like flexing subscriptions on Sky, looking at the phone that you have and going, do I really need to have all that big data gig on there, looking at things that we don't need in the house and just saying, look, what, let's just disconnect those because we don't need it and we can't afford it. Having that weekly budget of spend, all I can spend is £20 on shopping this week. Can't do any more than that because the rest of it has to now go. Where maybe I had £100 budget before, the £80 has to go to bill because the bill must come out and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's those things, that was how we resolved it. We had to sit down as a couple. I had to become, obviously, I had to become more involved in the finances of the home myself, because ultimately, everyone's busy, and if you and sometimes when you're busy, you kind of just let things happen around you without seeing them happen. So we sat down, we talked about it. We said, look, we're just in debt. We've got all these bills coming, all these things are not being paid, and all these things, and we're borrowing money from people. And we didn't want to keep borrowing money every month. Please borrow £200, so that we can balance the account and then we'll give you back. So we had to really look at the things that we were spending money on and reduce it. Very important. And there's different ways of reducing. I've called a few already. And look at the things that we're buying for luxury as well and reduce those as well. So reduce the luxury things as well because we can't afford it, to the point where we were able to get ourselves that we had to get a loan as well to be able to kind of get rid of all those credit card bills that were stifling us, because ultimately the interest on them was just too high to be able to fix our bill. The one thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want to do this thing that they call IFA or whatever, this consolidation that the government do for you, because when you do those, your credit rating becomes really, really bad, and then no one will borrow you money, no one will do things for you, and obviously, as a finance person, that's not even a thing that I can consider anyway in my career. So I had to look at other ways to be able to actually reduce our bill, and also in those times, we also had to look at the jobs that we're doing. Can we get a better job? Can we look at promotion, put our hands up for promotion so that we can get more income coming in? Because if you are still at the same income and you're expecting something to change, it's not always going to change. So it was those steps that we took to be able to allow us to come out of that period and then come into a period where things are balancing and we have a little bit left to be able to go back to whatever it is that we want to do.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Mother Celestine. Thank you so much. So that will bring me to the next question, whereby, because as much as you have explained it to us right now, I'm not sure that it's as easy as that when you were going through it, because I know what I'm talking about. Sure, you understand. So there will be some factors of stress in this thing that, oh my God, this is becoming stressful. How did you manage those stress? For the benefit of people that might be going through similar things that you've just shared with us now, because we have a lot of people in that situation as we speak that may be listening to us, and they'll be asking themselves, well, how did they manage the stress? Because when men are not buoyant, you will see the other side of them. I'm telling you, you will see, and even the women too, it becomes a real problem within the house. So how did you manage that stress? Or how will people manage such stress?
I mean, it's when you don't.
I hope I'm not putting you on this. I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, not really. I'm just trying to look for how I will explain it, because I always say, it was a very stressful time, and because ultimately you could see your people around you, they're okay and you're not, and there's things that you want that you can't have. There's those times. There was time where we would even go to church, zero money on us. You want to give, you can't give, and you don't want people to be looking at you as if I remember a time that someone said something to me one day. I think we had I don't know whether it was a harvest or whatever. This was this period, and this person said, she must have said, oh, we need you to contribute. And I said, oh, I don't have. And she said something like, she never has any. And that really hurt me that day. I was very hurt. I went back home and said to my husband, I said, I mean, I know I earn money, but we want to do the right thing, pay the bills, and the fact it was very hurtful. The one thing I turn to, because I'm not one that carries a lot of friends, so I don't have a lot of people that I will be calling and saying this is what's going on. So I always go back to God. And the one prayer that I always pray to God is for God to give me peace.
Mm.
And I think the peace that He gives to me allows me to be contented with whatever I have. Because it's different when you have nothing and you're still content. And it's not the kind of peace that you can get by yourself.
Mm.
Because before the peace did not come straight away. It took a journey. It took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of crying. It took a lot of sitting down and going and almost feeling like you want to give up. It takes a lot of that goes on. Sometimes even away from men, they will hide from you. You too, you will hide from them. They will not know you've been crying. They will say, what's wrong with you? You say, nothing. I'm just, it's cold or something. But you are, all those things. There was all of those periods that came. But the one thing I will say is the fact that both of us stood strong and believed that our situation would change.
Yeah.
And we took it back to God. We just prayed to God that, there'll be a time when God will give us abundance. And that really helped. That peace is that peace that I'm still enjoying. I'm still, and I never stop praying for it, because it's not like I have $1 million or even 6 months rent in my mortgage in my account. I don't have it in my account, but I'm peaceful that God will provide, even if anything was to happen. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put another question to support or to give more clarity around what we're discussing. Because you mentioned something about taking it back to God, even in your crises, even in your stress. So, but then aside taking it to do, because that's the ultimate anyway, but there are other things that God expects us to do by ourselves as well. Understand? So how do you support each other through these financial ups and downs?
Yeah.
Because you must be able to step in for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said something earlier about, like, when couples don't have enough. And I actually wanted to, I think this is the answer to it. Nobody knows what is going on in your house unless you go and tell people. Nobody knows whether it's the man that is making the most or the woman that is making the most. It's only if you or your husband are opening your mouth and telling people. As in our family, if I am struggling, I know I can go to my husband and I know he will support. If my husband needs something, he knows he can come to me and I will give to him. We have openness in terms of what we earn. So there's nothing that will come in that I cannot say, this came in. And when something comes in as an extra, we always, just as the way we are, we always go, okay, it's coming now. Let me make sure that my husband is also sorted out, because he supported me. If I was to earn a bonus or something, he supported me. If he was to earn a bonus, he'll go, there's your own portion as well. So we support each other from that point of view. We're there for each other. We know that if we need. Also, if if you've got people that are really close to you, like parents, some parents will be okay with borrowing you some money as well if you have a financial issue in your marriage, with the view that you will give it back to them. And those are the ones, I'm not talking about the parents that will now come to your husband and say, baby, whatever, so we're rent to join. Not those kind of parents. And I have some of those kind of parents that, if I needed something today, I could go and say, and so does he. If he needs something, he could go and say, look, just give me this for 2 months and I'll give you back. And we will give it back to them in 2 months. So if you have those kind of parents that you can also rely on like that, that is also a possibility. And it's something that, some couples are able to tap into.
Thank you very much. Wow. So the floor is open because I know we have something like 39 minutes to finish this discussion. So the floor is open for anyone that have their own input as well as to what we are discussing today, from romance to revenue. How can couples manage their finances within their homes? And before I ask MC Remy the next question, let's hear what Prophetess BC Ajilewura want to tell us. Unmute yourself, ma. Thank
Oh,
you.
wow. Happy Easter to everyone.
Same to you,
I
ma.
always love this discussion over here. And for Mother Remy, wow, beautifully, you know, I would say, should I say demolish? You know, when you demolish a building, yes, she tackled it beautifully. God will bless you, man.
Amen.
And
Amen. Thank you, ma.
I'm in the same field as you as well. And I found out that even with my sister, you won't believe it, they always call me a stingy woman. And I always laugh at them that, let me use the Yoruba adage. You always say, "Okay, for what me we watch." That's what my mom taught us.
Yes.
That you need to save for raining day in case of eventuality.
Yes.
And I love the transparency that goes on within your own family and how you tackle this with the lecture you give people. God will bless you, ma.
Amen.
But
Thank you, ma.
I have a friend. It was a friend this happened to. What happened to her was that she came over to explain things to me. And I lecture her in a simple way that I know of. What happened was she and her husband, I don't know, according to her, she showed what she has to this man. And you won't believe it, this man happens to be a broker. They got to know each other when she was looking for a property to buy, and they introduced this broker to her. So they got together, and they ended up in marrying each other, not knowing that this man has an agenda. Because when you have a broker, you have to open up to them.
Yes.
Every asset that you have, your money, where it comes from, and everything.
Yeah.
So this is what this lady did to this man, and not knowing that he knew what he was after. And believe you me, this lady opened up, and then they opened an account together as joint account.
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, they are using the joint account to pay off the bills, not knowing that this man went behind her. She will use whatever money they have in the joint account to pay, like if they want to do, no, not auditing. When you want to, I forgot, I remember the word now and it just went off my head. When you want to buy valuation, yes. They do valuation on properties.
Yeah.
So now, he will use the money to settle the valuation for people.
Okay.
And when these people now paid him cash, he dug the money into his pocket.
Oh, wow.
So he's smuggling the debts on this lady for a very long time.
Wow.
And you won't believe it, the lady is still paying off the debt up to now. Because it's something that she cannot finish. And now what happened was that eventually the mistake she did was she put this man's name on the property she has already bought, which she owned before they met.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when this marriage now fall apart, she has to split the money. The equity, they have to split it into two and give him the half of it.
Yeah.
And the man is now enjoying himself while the lady is still struggling because all the debt was in her name.
Yes.
And she has no proof.
Yes.
So, it was a disaster. And I don't even know what to say to her and how to go about it, because she has gone to ground zero. I would say ground zero.
Yes.
And like that kind of a woman, as an expert now, what can you advise her to do?
Yeah.
If I may know, so that I'll know what to tell her. Because me, I have exhausted what I everything is too late now to go back to say, okay, this is what I will do. That was why I mentioned prenuptial agreement earlier on. Yeah. Thank you, ma. If you can do that, I don't know, I'll be grateful. Thank you, ma.
All right, ma. Just to clarify, ma, they've already split and it's already got half of the money and she's now left with the half and the debt as well.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised that when they split, they did not also split the debt because it is in a joint account and it has both of their names on it. Because when you have a joint account with someone, you are both responsible for any issues on the account. So I'm surprised that did not, maybe the woman was not aware of that. Maybe something that she could try and, if the debt is on the account itself, is that where the debt is, or is it on something else now?
I think the debt was on a credit card because our own credit card, she gave it out to the guy, and I think that was what happened.
Okay, so it's not actually, so his name is not, I mean, it's very, very sad, ma. In this country, anything in your name you are responsible for, even if it's somebody else that spends it, because ultimately you would have given them access to it. I mean, the only thing I can suggest that she does, I think there are ways that you can try and write off your debt in this country. Like I said, it has impact on your status for a few years, but you know what, for the sake of, I don't know, 7 years, if you're not looking to borrow money from anywhere else, she can try and look at that avenue where she can consolidate or write it off, because the government is currently doing that. And then at least then in a 7 years time, she still will not have any debt anymore, but she will be able to start to rebuild her own credit again, rather than paying somebody else's debts off with money that is not enough as it is. So probably that's my only kind of advice I could give her, to try and do that with the remaining debts, at least so she's not paying that off anymore.
Oh, thank you, because I told her that she should declare herself bankrupt. So that, you know, like you rightly said, so that everything can be wiped off and she will have a clean slate all over again.
Yeah, but to declare herself bankrupt, she literally does not need, she must not have any money. So if she's still got the money from the house and she's still got that, you probably don't want to do that, because they'll say, well, just use that to pay. You still have something that you can still use to pay off your debt.
What about the consolidation?
Yeah, the consolidation one is different, because that one is about as long as she's got low income, there are criteria for it, but she can look at both of them, because I don't know whether she's got the money in the account somewhere, or whether she's already used it to buy herself a new place. So if she has, then that's fine, because at least she's got it's a mortgage. But she can, if you've got a mortgage, you can still do consolidation. But with bankruptcy, you almost have to like not have any assets or anything. You literally are bankrupt. Nothing will be in your name anymore, and anything in your name, they will basically consolidate it all. So,
Ma, is it advisable to do remortgage in this kind of situation?
Absolutely. You can remortgage if you've got capital on your account to pay off your debt. You can use that as well, but obviously that is your own money that that's your future that you're spending. But yes, remortgaging is also a very good option. It's low interest as well, because the mortgage interest is a lot lower than most of our loans and most of our credit cards. So yeah, that is an option if she's got capital.
Thank you, ma. God bless you, ma.
Okay, ma.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're going to pay for all this consultation that you're having on this platform.
She's my mother in Celestia now. She wouldn't charge me.
God bless
Thank
you,
ma.
God bless you. So, like I said, if you have any contribution, please unmute yourself and contribute. We are talking of financial stability in marriages, which we know at times are one of those killers that kills marriages just like that. Let me ask you another question, ma, that I think will benefit everyone that are listening to us. I know you've mentioned something around it at the early stage. When we are talking about supporting each other with our goals. Each individual, even though we are couples,
Yes.
our individual goals differs.
Yes.
You mentioned something about compromise, but there are some situations whereby, and I'm sorry to all our men on this program, those that are listening to us, I'm not trying to be gender biased, but we are talking from things that we have seen. Some men will believe that because they are the head of the family, so every decision should be based around them. They have upper hand in making decisions within their home.
Mm.
And I've seen a lot of times that some of these men, their decision doesn't make any sense. That at the end of the day, you will go down the drain. They will come back to what you have been saying. So when I have my goals and you have your goals, how do we support each other's goals and we still move in the right alignment within that family that will not fall into financial stress, but we'll still be meeting each other's goals? Okay, maybe I have a vision of having a company at the start. I don't want to work. I just want to start my company. I think we have a little that we can use to start it. Oh, and then somebody comes and say, your husband say, oh, that business, let me use myself don't let me go out of the contest. Let me use myself. I remember that when I was very, very young, I had that vision of of opening a restaurant.
Mm.
Not that I saw people open that restaurant. I dreamt about it.
Mm.
I had the dream. God showed me. He even showed me the name of my restaurant.
Wow.
I'm talking of when I was around 20s. I'm in my 20s.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to be 60. I'm in my 20s and I had that dream.
Mm.
And because it was a restaurant, I shared it with my husband because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
And he agreed with it. He was happy that, okay, maybe that will quickly give us financial breakthrough that we wanted.
Mhm.
But at a point in time, the third party influence came in.
Mm.
And they said, oh, you want your wife to go and open a restaurant? Don't you know that a woman that opened a restaurant, every man on this earth will be sleeping with that woman? All the women that open restaurants, they are all this, they are that, and that was how that dream was killed.
Wow.
Now, in this situation we are now, and I see someone coming to me or coming to you as a financial consultant,
Mm.
what will you tell that lady of how to manage this so that that dreams will not be killed and they can quickly become, because I believe now, knowing what I know now, I believe that it's not even the fault of that man. When they knows where you are going, they will use somebody that is closer to you to kill your dreams.
Yes.
And because we are, we understand the spirituality of everything now, what would you be advising that lady and the husband of how to manage so that they don't miss that alignment of that growth within that family?
Yes, ma. It's very important. And I think you almost answered the question yourself, to be fair. It's very important that our goals are aligned, because you don't want Mr. A going that way and Mr. B going this way. Because then you can't accomplish anything. And which is what the devil does in marriages, allows people to have more different goals, nothing gets achieved, and then at the end of it, you're sitting there going, if only we had done this together. The one thing I would say is, whenever I find that there's something I want to do, because I don't think we're going to get away from our husbands wanting to be the one that will make the decisions in the home or the final say. I don't think we're going to get away from it. I think if we're being honest, we're not going to get away from it. But I also know that as a woman, God has given us the strength to be able to manage upwards. I want to use that word. And influence, not even manage upwards, influence upwards in the way that you can have an idea that you table, that at the end of it, your husband thinks he's the one that brought the idea. And that is a way to influence them. That's one. But one thing that I always also do is when I table something with my husband, and I'm not getting, and I can see that it's something that it will bring goodness or something good to us, and I'm not getting what I want. I always go back to God and say, God, show it to him directly. Because sometimes until they see it, they will not believe it. So those are my two answers to this is and not in any particular order. Absolutely, if you have a dream or goal that the person is not seeing, I would advise that the person goes back to God and for God to actually open their eyes to see that dream as well, so that they will be able to understand it. If you remember, when Mary got pregnant, if the angel had not spoken to Joseph, he would have left her. He would have left her, because if the Holy Spirit did not tell him that, look, hey, calm down, she did not do anything bad, he would not believe. So we have to go back to God and say, God, show it to them. You're the one that showed me. Show them as well that vision. But also we have to be able to, as influencers, influence them, because the one thing that our husbands and our men want is they want to be seen as the woman respects them. Because sometimes when we say no, or we say, no, I'm going to do that thing by force, and you think because I'm a woman, I have rights, it can be seen as you being disrespectful, as you not seeing their opinion as important. So we have to find a way to, bring them into the opinion of, hold on, this is actually a good idea. Okay, what steps can we put in place to ensure that you trust that this will not happen in my own restaurant, for instance? Is it, we'll have CCTV camera all over the place. I'm not the one that's going to be serving anyone. I'm going to be in the office. I'm going to have servers. So there's no way for anybody to be coming to, behave any way towards me. There's things that we'll be able to have as discussions that will bring the other person's mind to a place where they'll say, okay, this person can hear me, and they're understanding where I'm coming from, and they're putting in some steps to try and avoid my fears. But absolutely, God as well needs to speak to them.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
So we have to take it back. Everything we have to take it back to God.
It's very important.
Because that's the ultimate, that's the ultimate number one that can actually resolve everything for us.
Yes.
In as much as but do you think the idea of, because I know you mentioned it earlier on, so let me ask this question at a time. Like, what are the common financial mistakes couples makes? I know you've mentioned some of it. You mentioned something like, bringing the third party into your financial problem, or not being trustworthy, not being open with each other, not being communicative, with each other. What are other mistakes that some people might be saying, what about this one, what about that one? So what other mistakes, as a financial consultant, do you think couples make? Or general, it could be a general thing now that we make in trying to build our finances.
Yeah, I mean, most of them is around talking to each other and about what you're going to do. I suppose maybe one of the biggest mistakes that a couple could make is they spend money that they're not meant to spend, but then try to hide it because they think the person will not understand. So they think, okay, even if I'm honest, I'm still going to get in trouble. And so the fear of I'm going to get in trouble stops them from being open, rather than actually just opening up and saying, look, okay, fine, I made a mistake, but this is the mistake, this is what it is. That's probably one of the biggest ones, is the fear of being judged. People don't want to be judged when they've done something wrong. They don't want, sometimes my husband will say, before you even scream, you're already reacting. Why are you reacting? It's like, so sometimes people don't even want that reaction. They don't want that. They know that you're going to come hard because you've just told them something that you're not happy about, and they don't want it. Sometimes they just want you to, first of all, take it in, let them, and then, in a calm kind of manner, go back to them and have the discussion. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about not being open about what each person is doing. We've talked about buying something and then not being honest about it. We've talked about, sending money back home, again, not paying the bills. Like maybe if you're in charge of someone, the house bills, and then you decide to use the money for something else. Maybe somebody said, borrow me something because they've also got an emergency. So you're like, my own need is not as great as this. And they promise to give it back the day before the rent is due. All of a sudden, something happened over there. It did not come back. And then you're sitting there going, wow, we haven't got the rent because I made a bad judgment. And you don't know how to go back and tell your partner because, again, you're afraid that the partner is going to blow it. And so you try to cover it up a little bit. Those things are not very good things to have in a relationship.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We're still waiting for anyone that wants to share their own thoughts with us. We are happy to listen to you as well. We are all learning from each other. We learn from our experiences. So if I ask you now, Mother Celestia Remi, that what will be your top financial tip for couples as a financial consultant?
Financial tips.
And I'm trying to look at a new couple now that are just going into their marriage. There is this fear of the unknown. Maybe like you have said earlier on, the lady both of them have had their own property even before going in, or they are still preparing to say, okay, I'll do this with my husband when we get married. They just have things, or maybe they've inherited some things from their parents as well that they are bringing into the family. What would be your tip for them, or the tips for them?
Okay, I mean, probably my first tip is for them to have full disclosure with each other on their finances. Let them know what you're bringing in, and whatever it is that you both want to do with money within your relationship. So be open, full disclosure. Don't leave anything out, even if it takes 10 days to tell them all the things that are there. Just do it. Have a budget in the house for what you want to spend versus what you don't want to spend. And like I said, pay yourselves. In that budget, make sure that the husband has his own money that he can spend on whatever he likes. The wife has her own money she can spend on whatever they like. And then the rest of it is going on bills, food, children, and whatever else. So have that budget that they can continue to look at. I already mentioned guardrails. Look at things that you don't agree with. Some people will say, in our marriage, we don't want overdraft. That could be a guardrails. We don't want it. We want to spend cash on it. We don't want credit card. We don't want anything like that. So obviously, if the person goes and gets himself a credit card, doesn't tell the wife, there's going to be a problem, or vice versa. So have guardrails on your finances, the things that you want to do, the things that you don't want to do. And just finally, keep reviewing them as your situation changes, as you grow, as you get more money, as you get more wealth. Just review those things that you said you were not going to do, and make sure that they're still relevant to you and your partner.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. For me to give you to round off today's discussion, how do we deal with a judgmental partner?
Judgmental partner.
I mean, you've asked us to be open to our, you've asked us to discuss everything and not anything, everything. And, which means open yourself to this person. But then you end up finding out that this man is a judgmental man, or this woman is, because they now start asking you a question of how, why, and this could be one of the reasons why people don't actually disclose their situation to their spouses, because they feel like they might be judged by them.
Yes.
So, but there should be a way around it in terms of finances. So how do we deal with judgmental spouse?
I think you have to leave gap. So it's about setting your agenda for your meeting, for your exposure, if you want to call it that. So I think when you have a judgmental partner, you have to put a bit of leverage in for yourself, in the sense that you know that the minute you say you've done this, they're going to straight away go, no, how could you have done that? How could that have happened? So I think what you have to do is at that point is, look, I want to tell you something. But before you start asking all the questions, let me just tell you everything. And then when I tell you, I want us to, first of all, take some time to think about it. Because I think a lot of the things about judgmental partners it's an immediate reaction. If there is time put in between the original reaction and the next discussion, you probably find that they're a bit more reasonable. But it's that point in time when you say something, because we all do it sometimes, even before someone lands, you're like, how could that have happened? Why didn't you see it? What were you doing? It's just the way people react. So what I would probably advise is that we should try and say to them that, look, this is just a chat for me to tell you. And then we're going to take a break and then come back and have a chat about, and you can ask me all the questions. And even at that time as well, I think the questions that come will not sound so judgmental, because the questions will probably be said in a different way than it would have been said at that time when you are telling them that this is what I've done.
Thank you so much. Before we come to there, let me quickly go into the chat room and see some of the write-ups. I think you've picked some of the questions that some of the responses. And let me just quickly go and see if I could read some as well. Protest BC Ajulura said, some of your points that we will need cash flow to signify that you are rich when we are talking about the rich and wealth. I think some of them we've read it.
Yeah.
And you've answered this question about the discrepancies or anomalies in the statements. Yes, let me quickly go to the bottom of this. By Kemi Ayodele, who said, thanks so much, and sir, for the inspiring presentations. She said, multiple streams of income may be embraced by couple. Living within or below your income must be considered, which has been mentioned.
Yes.
Scale of preference is needed so that you prioritize your needs. You said sometimes you have to be selfish before being selfless.
Yes.
So take very good care of yourself and your immediate family. Joint account between couples need terms and conditions. That is something we did not mention. So I don't know whether she wants to unmute herself and tell us about it. I know that's my friend. Kemi Ayodele, do you want to tell us more about how to put terms and conditions into joint accounts for couples within their homes? Is it going to be signed as a signed document, or is it just going to be on a platter of mouth to mouth? Because that's something that we need to clarify more. She mentioned something about God is a must in marriages before finance is the major causes of separation or divorce.
Yes.
Every woman must be financially independent of her spouse.
Yes.
I know some women that if they want to buy bra, they have to go to their husband to get money. I'm just saying that as little as that. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, which means those women are not financially independent.
Yeah.
And sometimes you find out that it's the men that make them not to be financially independent because they want them to come to them for every single thing. But that has, at the same time, destroy marriages as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that happens in marriages where the husband's working, the wife is not working because maybe they decided that they're not going to work. They will look after the children. But really, I mean, an example of fixing that is the wife should see herself as she's doing a job, and she should get paid for that job on a monthly basis.
Because housework is a hard work,
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, and if that was in place, then she wouldn't have to keep going back to him.
Would that not be the part of agreement that they said they should sign?
I don't think we need to sign that. I'm sure they can just talk as a couple and decide on how much. It's basically, when I say get paid, it's basically the money that the man puts down for the month. So whether it's okay, I know that my wife needs £1,000 to look after everything in the house and the kids, so I'm going to give her 1,000 every month. And I know couples that did that would give their wife that money and say, look, here's £1,000 or here's £2,000 for you and the kids every month to buy food and obviously to cook for the house and things like that. I mean, you can have agreements if you feel like the person. I mean, I don't want to say that you don't trust the person, but most marriages will survive on openness. That as long as you both have access to those bank accounts and you both have agreed the guardrails. This is what I'm saying about guardrails. You know, when you have anything that is joint, make sure you write down your rules. I don't think you necessarily need to get it signed officially because lawyers will cost you money.
I'm laughing because something just came to my mind. And I'm saying all our discussion now has been based on the fact that both couples are learned couples.
Yes.
They understand English. They understand whatever we are discussing. What about a man that got married to an illiterate woman?
Wow.
That will be asked to just put his signature in a joint account, and the woman is business, is doing business.
Yeah.
But it doesn't understand much. What do we say to that one? That's another base of discussion, you know.
That's a different dimension.
Because it happens.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it does happen, but really the only way that woman can be safeguarded is if she can get herself educated, or because even if we brought in a lawyer and the lawyer is working with her husband and tells her to sign something, it's not going to make a difference. So the first thing is to get herself basic education, basic English and maths. You know, if you have that, there's a lot that you can do. But without that, it's really difficult to be able to hide, unless you have, maybe after you have kids, your kids are then involved because they're now educated, so they can go, mommy, you know, let me see what all these things that you say you have.
I think we have to bring that into perspective. We have to bring that into discussion in marriage, because these are one of the things that we've seen so many of these women that are not learned enough, but they're coming from a background that the family are rich.
Yeah.
And they've equipped them. And that is the reason why some of these men are getting married to them, to be honest with you, to exploit them. So how do we safeguard this kind of women in marriages? Because at the end of the day, they fall prey of some of the things that we have been discussing.
Yeah.
We have now come to the end of today's discussion. I don't know how to thank you. Unfortunately, I got a message from Pastor Franklin that he's caught up in what he was doing, and he might not be able to come in. I think he's sorting out some family as well, somewhere, somehow.
As well.
So he has sent his apology. But we thank God that we have a competent financial consultant today who has actually discussed every area of concerns that we had today. I cannot thank you less, and I just want to say a big thank you to you for even scheduling your time to come at this weekend of preparation for Resurrection tomorrow. I know it's been really a very kind of difficult weekend, but thank you for accepting our invite, and thank you for all this discussion that you have had with us today. I want to thank all our participants that have attended today, and I believe that because I've learned some stuff today, and in my behind my brain I'm saying I think I have to do one-to-one financial consultation with this woman. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and I believe that you've all learned one or two things. I want to wish you again happy Easter, happy resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. I believe that the resurrection will not just be a mere resurrection in our life, but it will be impactful in our lives and our homes as well, in our marriages as well, in the name of Jesus. We will be closing now for today, and we expect to see you all in another 2 weeks' time when we'll be having another great discussion. So just please like our page on Facebook, like our TV channel on YouTube, and so that we can be recognized by the YouTube, and we can bring more of this discussion on our pages. And as we live today, we are living, but I believe that by the time we mix next, we come again next 2 weeks, we'll be coming with joy and happiness. Thank you all for joining us, and have a lovely weekend.
Thank
And
you,
a long
Ma.
holiday. God bless you all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Ma. Thank you.
Mother Inyo. God bless you, ma. Have
Amen.
a lovely Easter period.
And same
And
to you, Ma.
Prophetess Sheri, happy Easter to you too, ma.
Same to you.